So for the last 2 days and a few days before, I have been going down this pattern. A stuck state, maybe a downward spiral if you want to call it that. But it's this pattern of kind of like indulgence, kind of like indulgence in a certain aspect, a certain action. And I've been stuck in that state. I was stuck in that state for a while, for at least yesterday and today. It happens, I think it happens on the weekdays when I have nothing to do, or I'd say it happens, I notice it more on the weekdays when I have nothing to do. Because whenever you have free time, you just do whatever you want, and when you do what you want, it just leads you more to doing what you want. And when you do what you want, that always leads towards indulgence, and just a pattern of greater and greater indulgence, from which it can be hard to get out of. So I've been going down that route, developing a pattern, a habit of indulgence. And it was, when it's the weekend and you have nothing to do, you just do what you want, and it's hard to get out of that. How do you discipline yourself to do something else besides what you want, to do something that you need to do instead of what you feel like doing? And so I was stuck in that state. Just right now I managed to get out of it, which is why I'm able to make this video. So I just want to go over some notes that I took about how I managed to get out of that pattern. And yesterday and today, it was kind of an up and down, because I couldn't really notice. I didn't really notice the little things that I didn't really get to the essence of what it was that was helping me get out of that, and so that allowed me to go back into that pattern instead of completely escaping from it. So just today, I managed to pay attention a bit more to what was happening inside me, to what my mind was doing, and it comes down to this. So the reason why I kept going through that indulgence pattern is because I had a desire, I had a pain, and within the philosophy of my project, pain is supposed to be a motivation toward freedom. And if pain was an indication that you needed freedom, if pain was a motivation for somebody to seek freedom, then that would work out just fine. Whenever you have pain, your inclination would be to look toward freedom, to be freed from the habits of indulgence, to be freed from the chains of desire. But as it was yesterday and today, I didn't see freedom as a solution to my desire. What I saw as a solution was just plain old indulgence, and it was a simpler solution. And the reason why this happens is because we choose the easy way out. What we see as a solution that makes sense for the time being, because our desire is just to get rid of that desire. Our desire is just to get rid of that discomfort, that pain. And so we seek out the easiest solution, which is stuff that is typically stuff that you typically think about when you try to get rid of a desire, which is, for example, you are thirsty, you drink water. When you're hungry, you eat food. When you're craving something, you eat chocolate. So, nobody. it's a bit more unnatural to see freedom, to see freeing your mind as a solution to your thirst or your craving or your hunger. You know, if you're thirsty, what do you meditate? If you're hungry, do you meditate? But so that's the habit pattern. You know, that habit, the habit of indulgence. Um, that, that kind of keeps you in that pattern of indulgence. Um, so what I've set myself to do is to or what needs to be done is there needs to be an adjustment in the pattern. There needs to be an adjustment in the pattern of thinking whenever you have a problem, what the solution is. And so, just like I said, that pain should be a direct motivation to freedom, but that wasn't the case, because I saw the indulgence as a solution to the freedom, as an easier solution to the pain that I was having. And in this case, I wasn't getting the solution. It was just the pain was just getting worse and worse because the solution, what I was trying to do, was not working. And so the pain just got worse and worse, and the habit just kept getting worse and worse because I kept believing in that solution, and I kept trying to perform that solution in order to satisfy the desire. That was a good thing, because after I got overwhelmed by the desire, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to, it's about time that I really analyze what's going on here, and I try to come up with something for this pattern, for this downward spiral. That the more I seek, the less I find, and it wasn't just going anywhere, and the desire was just getting worse and worse. So the goal here is, again, as it is part of my philosophy and the philosophy of the project, is to have pain be an indication, be a natural motivator toward freedom instead of towards something else. And so here's what I came up with. Equate pain and pleasure with capability. So you have the spectrum of pain and pleasure, and this spectrum is an indicator of capability. So when you're in pain, you're less capable, which is why you're in pain. And the more free you are, or the more pleasure that you have, and this pleasure that I'm talking about is a self-generated pleasure. It's not pleasure out of indulgence. So this is where pain and pleasure comes in. If you're in a painful state of mind, in which any little thing can disturb you, that's the pain state of mind. If you're in a pleasurable state of mind, where anything can give you pleasure, that's in a pleasurable state of mind. That's freedom. And pain, pleasure, that's kind of like you're enslaved by sensations, by particular sensations, and in this one you're freed from the sensations, so that you can be happy no matter what the sensation or experience you're having. So equate pain and pleasure, pain state of mind and pleasure state of mind, equate them with capability. So equate pain and pleasure, pain state of mind and pleasure state of mind, equate them with capability. So in this part, it would be, when you're in pain, when you're a slave, it would be, you would be less capable, and when you're over here in this state of mind, you would be more capable. So when you equate this spectrum with capability, you realize that pain, a pleasurable state of mind is, it means that you have more capability, and a painful state of mind is when you're closed-minded, and you just want to avoid everything. And if you keep going in that route, it just leads to despair. It just leads to a painful despair. Therefore, the solution is to raise your standards for pleasure, because pleasure equals more capability. And so what happens there is that when you equate this spectrum with capability, you will see the practicality of freedom. So that when you have a desire and you want to satisfy that desire, you realize that you would be more apt, you would be more capable to satisfy that desire if you were more free. So that's what I realized, that I had no motivation to be free from desire because all I wanted to do was satisfy the desire. But if I saw the capability of satisfying the desire as dependent on my state of mind, then I would be more motivated, more inclined to fix my state of mind, so that I would be more capable of fixing that desire. In this particular case, uh, my incapability was truly limiting me from 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 satisfying the desire. So it took me a while, and it it took uh, it took all of my patience. It took the depletion of all of my patience in order for me to realize that that I wouldn't be able to satisfy the desire, perform the right actions to satisfy the desire, unless I set myself free from the desire. So, in this spectrum, more capable equates or more pleasure. If you're in a more pleasurable state of mind, that equates to more capability, and the more capability, the more practical in its practical solution, because it'll be the more capability you will have in order to satisfy that desire that you want. So, in the end, you have to set up this model, this spectrum, and equate it with capability, in order to see open-mindedness and freedom as a solution to the problem that you are having. So, and just to kind of elaborate on this, the reason why one does not get out of the stuck state. So I was in this stuck state where I was down here, and I wasn't even attempting to get out of that state of mind, uh, in order to solve my problem. And the reason why that happened is because I did not see, and so I was in that stuck state. And the reason why I was stuck in there is because I did not see happiness and open-mindedness as a convenient solution. So yes, in the back of my mind, I did realize that maybe I should like calm down. I should let some of these desires go. I should open my mind in order to better see the solutions. I mean, because I had my notes there, so I knew that. But when I was experiencing that, I was just ignoring all of that because I just wanted the easy way out. I did not want to pray. I did not want to open my mind. I did not want to free myself from these desires. I just wanted the easy way out. So here's the goal. Whenever you desire something, see open-mindedness as a direct solution, as a direct and practical solution. Whenever you have a desire, see open-mindedness and happiness as the thing that as that thing that your physiology is actually craving. So, whenever you have a desire, you have to see freedom as the only object of desire. So every desire that you have, whether it be for water, for food, or for play, or for entertainment, every desire that you have is actually, you have to realize that it's actually a desire for freedom. And if you do that, then every time you have a pain, every time you have a painful sensation, you will seek to free your mind, because pain is an indication. Pain should be an indication to free your mind. So whenever you are attempting to gain a specific outcome, see open-mindedness as a means to obtain that which you truly want, and that which you truly want is to free your mind, from this enslavement of sensations, because it is the enslavement of sensations that are causing this painful desire. fundamental thing in order to be able to achieve this, in order to be able to see this spectrum as a practical spectrum of capability, I guess it would be the more essential action that one should take is basically changing this, and the procedure that one would go about doing that is by just programming, I guess. Basically, you think of one thing and you associate it with another, and you just keep making that association until it becomes engraved in your mind. And the way to do that is, it takes thinking. It takes it just kind of takes reinforcement through thoughts, because it is your thoughts that create this model in your head. So you would just have to think it over and over again, and think the association between these two things, the capability and the spectrum. Think it over and over again to create that association, to engrave that association in your head. So aside from that, taking that a step further, here's the procedure. I also noticed that. So I was in my room, and I was trying to focus on this. And I was trying to say, okay, well, every desire is an indication of freedom, and the desire and pleasurable states of mind is an indication of capability. So I had that in mind, and so I was in my room, and I was okay. I was already practicing that. And so I managed to get out of that pain. I managed to let go of some of these desires. And I managed to get out of that pattern. So I managed to climb out of that downward spiral. But then I noticed that after I climbed out of the downward spiral, after I calmed down a bit, it kind of allowed me to get distracted by other things instead of by just the goal that I was pursuing. So I got distracted by other things, and then my mind went towards that. And because I got distracted, I forgot to see that pleasurable state of mind as a solution to my desires. And so because I forgot about that, then I was looking towards more instinctual ways to satisfy the desires all over and over again. And so I went back to that downward spiral. So that was kind of the pattern. So I was right here, and I focused on letting go of my desires. I got to this place, and when I was a little bit more comfortable, I got distracted. From doing that, and I went back to the downward spiral because I got distracted of what I was doing. I got distracted from freeing myself. So that was a problem, and so then I noticed that, the reason why this happens is because, yes, there's a certain state in which you're aware that you're supposed to do that, but at the point that you get distracted, this happens because you're thinking of something else. And where your mind originally is, you have agreed that a pleasurable state of mind, that a state of freedom, is the solution. But when you get distracted, it kind of switches your whole mentality. It turns into a whole different schema when you focus on something else, because there's kind of a, you're in a certain state of mind in that original mentality. But when you get distracted, your state of mind completely shifts, and so it's no longer the original position. Now you're in another position in which in this position, in this state, you have forgotten, or you no longer consider freedom as a practical solution for as a practical solution for your desires. So not only do you have to recognize this spectrum as a spectrum of capability, the pain and pleasure spectrum as a spectrum of capability, not only do you have to recognize freedom as a practical solution to satisfy your desires, but you have to do that at every point in which you're thinking. So when you shift your attention, you're supposed to keep seeing that. And when you shift your attention elsewhere, you're supposed to keep seeing that. And these are subtle changes, because when you get distracted by subtle things. And distraction is a subtle mental phenomenon, because that's why you get distracted, because you're not paying attention to it. You're not paying attention to where your mind is, and so subtly something else gets your attention, and you completely forget about what you were originally doing. So these subtle changes in your mind, this subtle change in the schema happens because of a distraction. But if you're paying attention to the schema all the time, you would notice that when you shift your attention to something else, there's a shift in your thinking. And this is the shift in your thinking that you want to be in control of, this subtle shift. When you pay attention to something else, you go back to indulgence, you go back to instinctual indulgence. So you're supposed to keep this connection, keep this association. So you're supposed to keep this association, and then when you get distracted or when you think of something else, it'll shift. So your mind will want to shift, and it'll shift slowly. But if you notice it, you can catch it and keep making that association, that original association of capability and freedom, in that situation as well. And then when you're in another situation, so basically you do everything slowly. You get up from the chair, your mind will change. You take a step forward, your mind will want to change back. You pick something up, your mind will want to change back. Why? Because that's your habit. That's the habit that you've developed with every action that you have taken in life. And so if you want to readjust your mind, you would have to adjust it at every point, at every action that you take. So that's why it's a bit difficult, because you need complete awareness and complete awareness and complete sensitivity to these subtleties in order to be able to adjust these subtle changes in your schema with every situation that you're in, because every situation it kind of renews, it kind of resets your thinking pattern into your original instinctual habits. So every movement you make carries an attached impression to it. So you will have to readjust your physiology from the movement, so that the movement pattern is no longer a pain trigger. You do this by consciously being aware and controlling your physiological response while performing the specific movement pattern. So this is just kind of going into more detail about the procedure that you have to do inside yourself in order to be able to make this switch successful continuously. So every movement that you make carries an attached impression to it. So you will have to readjust your physiology. So readjusting your physiology is kind of like sticking to that schema of seeing the spectrum as a spectrum of capability. Every movement pattern is pain triggered. That's what happens when you forget to be free from desire, and when you do something else, you're again on your way to that downward spiral. So you do this by consciously being aware and controlling your physiological response while performing the specific movement pattern. So once you have you perform this movement pattern, and try to get control of your physiology in order to not fall into that pain, habit, into that pain spiral. And once you do that, you perform a movement, and again, you're supposed to keep on readjusting the change in your physiology in order to not fall into that pain pattern. And then another movement, that your habits will want to fall into that pain pattern, and you readjust, and you do another movement, you readjust, you do another movement, you readjust, you do another movement, you readjust. So that's kind of the thing. So and then I noticed that that when I'm not thinking anything, and I'm just experiencing life as I normally do, my normal response to new phenomena, to new experiences, is to protect yourself, to tense up. If something happens, you tense up. If something new happens, if there's a new phenomenon, you tense up because you want to be protected from it, because you're being defensive about what this new phenomena is. So I'm thinking, if I could just switch that response to be an accepting response, to be an open response, then I won't tense up anymore. I won't tense up, and it won't lead me to this seeking, to this instinctually painful pattern of tensing up and trying to protect myself. Instead, it would be better if with every new phenomena I would just relax, and I would just accept it, and I would just observe, and I would just realize what's going on, instead of constantly being stressed out because of everything that I'm trying to protect myself from. So here's what happens. My natural response to new phenomena is to be protected from it. This causes me to tense up whenever an experience comes up that is unknown or unrecognized. I have to somehow change my fundamental response. So that's a fundamental response that I have to experiences. Fundamental response from its protection and defensiveness, and change it to openness and incorporating into experience. So if I'm able to change that, I would be able to fear nothing. And instead of fearing, I would be using this new experience, this new phenomena, as an aspiration to grow, to change and to become altered by the phenomena of the universe. Because there's two ways that you could see that. Whenever there's a new phenomena, you can protect yourself from it, or you can incorporate it into your identity. You can incorporate it into your being. So right now I'm cold, and I could wear a sweater to protect myself from the cold. Or I could accept it and let it change me as it will. Some people think that if I take my sweater off right now and allow the cold to change me, that I would get a cold and I would get sick and die. But as far as the philosophy of my project, the reason why you get a cold and you get sick is not because the cold is able to enter your body, but because you are resisting the change that the cold is trying to bring upon you. There are people that, they're very flexible. Pay attention to that word, flexible. They're very adaptable. And so if they go outside without a sweater, their immune system is able to take care of it, and they won't get sick because of the cold, because of because they're very flexible with their body, because their body is very flexible with the phenomena. But I'm not going to get too much into that. I'll probably explain that in another video. But for now, let's just go with that. So be more flexible, be more alterable, be more. What was the word that I used? Adaptable to the changes, to the experiences that are provided, the phenomena that are provided by the universe, by everything around you. So, in order for this change to take place, to go from being protective to being open to these new experiences, to be more flexible, in order from being tense to being more flexible, you must adopt some fundamental beliefs, and this is where it gets kind of tricky. Because in order for your mind to be naturally seeking adaptability, in order for your mind to be set on adaptability instead of protectiveness, you would have to adopt some beliefs. So let's stop there and then in the next video I'll get into how one's beliefs, how one would have to adjust their beliefs in order to make certain things more natural, to make certain behaviors more natural. So I'll continue that somewhere else.